Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, with vote totals still coming in across the nation, the congressional balance of power is still in limbo. How Kentucky voted coming up. And for some, it was not a question of who was on the ballot, but what. A closer look at some of the issues people voted on.
And changes are on the way to the forecast as we head into this weekend. Breaking it all down ahead as Mountain News at 5:30 starts now.
Dedicated to Southern and Eastern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 5:30.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. The balance of power in Congress remains to be settled as control of the House and Senate are still up for grabs. CBS's Natalie Brand is on Capitol Hill, where Republicans have made some gains but did not pull off the red wave some expected.
Election workers continue to count ballots in some of the nation's closest races. Democrats are touting a better than expected election night.
It's supposed to be a red wave. You were talking about us losing 30 to 50 seats, and this was going to, that's not going to happen.
That includes John Fetterman. CBS News projects he won Pennsylvania's Senate race in a Democratic pickup. But other key Senate races are still considered toss-ups, including Nevada and Georgia. Election officials in the Peach State say that race will be decided in a December 6th runoff.
Ballots are being built as we speak, and counties are making preparations.
CBS News projects Senate Republican Ron Johnson will hold on to his seat in Wisconsin. The Arizona Senate race leans Democratic, with votes still being counted. CBS News projects the U.S. House is leaning Republican, with some of the most competitive races not yet called.
We will be in the majority, and Nancy Pelosi will be in the minority. Yeah!
Republicans were expecting a red wave, but that did not materialize, and GOP candidates backed by former President Trump had mixed results.
Quite honestly, people are tired and exhausted from all of the baggage and kind of the cloud that surrounds any type of Trump campaign.
Exit polling revealed Trump mattered more to those voting for Democrats. More than half of Democrats said their vote was to oppose him. He's hinted at announcing a 2024 run next week. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Former President Trump says he will have a big announcement next Tuesday, setting up a potential clash with a big winner from last night, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who is said to be considering a presidential run as well. Here in Kentucky, Rand Paul, Hal Rogers, and Andy Barr easily retained their seats in the U.S. Congress. Paul defeated Democratic challenger Charles Booker for the U.S. Senate seat. Rogers defeated Connor Hallbleib to secure his 22nd term in the U.S. House of Representatives, and District 6 Representative Andy Barr faced off against challenger Jeff Young and won a 6th term in office. Yesterday, certainly a busy day for many throughout the region, and we told you last night about the long lines some folks were experiencing at the polls at the end of the day, and as long as people were in line to vote by 6 o'clock, they should have been allowed to vote. Those long lines, though, may have contributed to some delays in vote tabulations. Yesterday, Kentucky Secretary of State Michael Adams addressed what may have caused some of those long lines.
Well, we had some counties that unfortunately, over my objection, had too few locations to vote, and that led to long lines today. So I think this proves that we don't need more early voting days. I'm a huge fan of early voting. I helped bring that to Kentucky, but some people just want to vote on Tuesday. So in terms of expanding access, we need to be looking at how to have a more accessible election day itself.
WYMT staff were here at the station working late into the night, inputting all of those election results for you. Unfortunately, some counties did not get in until very late. You can find a complete list still of the results on our website at WYMT.com or on the WYMT News app.
Can confirm, I was one of those working long into the night as we helped finish up all of our election night preparations. Now, our focus here in our newsroom today has switched from the election, for the most part, over to the fire potential, and we've seen several throughout the region today. A look outside the front door here at WYMT, you can see in the distance there's some smoke from a wildfire somewhere here in Perry County. And a look here from our camera outside the front door here at WYMT, and you can see the kind of hazy look from the Mountain Parkway at Slade and those bright colors on the horizon from the wildfires they've been seeing. We've seen some smoke plumes from some of these wildfires throughout the region, some being put out, some reigniting throughout the region. But we're starting to see some of those begin to work on down. Mild out there today. Already seeing those temperatures drop, though, down into the lower 70s. Manchester got up to 80 a little bit earlier. Dew points slowly coming up. I mean, we're talking dew points so low that it's so dry outside. Fire weather warning continues, or the red flag warning, as you may hear it called. That continues for about another 25 minutes or so, and the burn bans remain in effect until further notice. We'll continue to watch the potential for some rain that could help with the fire danger. That's in a few minutes. Steve?
All right, Evan, thank you. Much more on those forest fires coming up at 6 as well. The midterm election gave voters a chance to decide some important ballot measures. A handful of states put abortion rights up for a vote after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade in June. Marijuana and guns were also on the ballot, and in Arizona, a new voter ID measure. CBS's Danya Backus has more from Phoenix.
While voters were deciding the balance of Congress, several states also put abortion rights on the ballot, an issue that was top of mind for many voters.
I would say the biggest motivator for me would be abortion rights and rights for women's health.
Michigan, Vermont, and California approved measures aimed at protecting abortion rights. In Kentucky, voters rejected an initiative to change the state constitution to say there is no right to abortion. And in Montana, voters considered a ballot measure that could mean criminal charges for healthcare workers who do not try to save an infant or fetus, including after an attempted abortion. CBS News has not projected a result on that. Here in Arizona, abortion was not on the ballot, but the state did weigh in on tougher identification requirements for voters. Results may take several days on that measure, which would eliminate the option of providing two documents with a person's name and address rather than a photo ID.
If you have your driver's license or any, passport or anything, I mean, what the heck is it going to hurt to just show, somebody that it's, that it's you? I mean, I totally agree with that.
Gun laws were on the ballot in Iowa, where voters said yes to adding gun rights into the state constitution. Oregon is counting votes in a measure that would ban magazines over 10 rounds and require new gun owners to complete a safety course and background check. And voters in Maryland and Missouri voted to legalize recreational marijuana use. But in Arkansas, North Dakota, and South Dakota, voters said no. Surveys show about 60% of voters nationwide support legalizing recreational marijuana. Danya Backus, CBS News, Phoenix, Arizona.
Another amendment which failed to pass in Kentucky yesterday was Amendment 1. It would have provided more power to the Kentucky General Assembly by allowing legislators to call themselves into a special session and potentially extend regular sessions to end later in the year. More than 680,000 people voted no, and just under 589,000 people voted yes. Other items on ballots across the region were wet-dry votes. Both the city of Hyden in Leslie County and Ravenna in Estill County voted to allow alcohol in at least some capacity in their respective communities. Hyden voters decided that town will now be wet. 58 people voted yes to the measure, while 50 voted no. This means alcohol sales will be legal in the city. Now, Leslie County was one of only 10 dry counties left in the state. But again, this is just for the city of Hyden. Voters in Ravenna voted to allow alcohol sales only at certain restaurants. 155 voted yes there, while 61 voted no. Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, it's one of the last steps you'll take before buying a home. And experts say scammers could be waiting for you. What you need to know about mortgage wire fraud.
Plus, some big changes on the way in our forecast as we head into the weekend, breaking down our chance for lows in the 30s ahead.